Why is it the shadow where we all always start? And of course, we're going to go to a gentleman called Jordan B. Peterson.
Okay, right hemisphere. Operation in unexplored territory. Negative emotion. Inhibition of behavior. That's this. That's anxiety. That's what happens when the Medusa looks at you. You turn to stone, right? That's the basilisk in Harry Potter. It freezes you. Why? You're moving forward according to a schema. If you're moving forward properly, you're getting to where you want to go, and the schema is being validated simultaneously. I'm moving forward and the map is correct. Something happens that's unexpected. What should you do? Stop. What else are you going to do? You stop first. Then the predator can't see you, right? That's the freezing reaction of a prey animal. So it's built very, very deeply into you. Very, very old circuits do that. In fact, if it's a real orienting reflex to something that's anomalous, you'll go like this. And that's to stop the thing that will jump on your back from tearing out your throat. And that's really, really fast. It's almost as fast as spinal snake reflex circuitry. Extraordinarily fast. And that's conserved over an evolutionary span. That predator defense system is at the bottom of your cognitive apparatus. Everything's been built on that. Like, it's a low resolution pattern. A higher resolution pattern that's the same pattern is built on top of that. Then a higher resolution pattern that's the same pattern is built on top of that, and so on. But that initial architecture is duplicated across the levels of differentiation of the nervous system. And that's partly why these symbols can be so archaic and still be accurate. It's still the way the world works. Negative emotion, inhibition of behavior, image processing, right? Because thing about images is they're fast. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, you get the picture. Get the picture is actually something you say to someone if you say, do you understand? Right? To get the picture is very, very fast. So the right hemisphere manages that. Holistic thinking, that's that low resolution thinking that generalizes across instances. Pattern recognition, pattern generation, and gross motor action. Yeah, freeze and get the hell out of there. That's gross motor action. The right hemisphere is very good at that. That's why if you're right-handed, if you're right-handed, you use your left hemisphere to manage the really fine motor details, right? You write with it. You write with it. And because that's very, very... If you're right-handed, you tend to use your left hand to open the top of jars, right? You use your left hand. That's a gross motor action. I mean, sometimes people are more lateralized than that, but the left hemisphere is specialized for the fine-grained things that you know very well. That's exactly it. Okay, the left hemisphere. Well, the left hemisphere, which is associated with positive emotion, by the way, that's specialized for operation in explored territory. So now what we might say is that you spend your whole life trying not to have your right hemisphere turn on.
Big idea.
Because why would you want that? That's where the monsters pop up. So you stay in explored territory, but maybe you also tentatively expand its borders, and the left hemisphere seems to be involved in that too. So if you're curious about something, it's usually something minor enough so that it won't blow your entire category structure if you explore it. Now sometimes you get unlucky and you're like Eve in the Garden of Eden. You go have a little chat with this little snake that seems to be of no significance whatsoever, and it feeds you something, the apple, it feeds you something, and bang, everything falls apart, right? You collapse and you're out there in history. You're no longer in your old paradise. So activation of behavior. Yeah, well that's because positive emotion is associated with movement forward. Like if you're where you want to be and things are going well, then your behavior should be activated so that you go and get things. Now, one of the negative consequences of that is that if you're really in a good mood, really happy, you're going to be impulsive and make mistakes. Because you hear these dough-headed...
So there's a lot of absolutely amazing things there coming from JBP, who just lays it out, not really in the context that I'm talking about. Like, he never really put this stuff together perhaps the way that I'm framing it, but think about that. Your goal is to try spend your whole life trying to not have your right brain turn on. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the right brain is packed full of anxiety receptors, packed full of those. It's fear, and precisely for the reason he's explaining from that evolutionary biologist perspective. Like, it's very, very sensible. You have the left brain that's supposed to keep you hyped, and it's generally like the idiotic ego. You run around, you just do stuff, and it's generally trying to keep you in like a safe space. But then when you come to something dangerous, your right brain comes online, and it's, as I've said before, it's quietly just watching. But then when you go to the edge of the garden, the right brain comes online, fills you full of a dread, that type of thing. And so this is the shadow appearing to you. The first step is always the shadow, because the right brain is geared to the max with anxiety, with fear, with dread, with darkness, these type of things. Whereas the left brain is hyped and motivated, but of course a bit naive and dumb. It's the ego, of course. And so the step that you must do is you must go into this right brain, but of course you don't want to. This is sort of explains why this doesn't happen. You want to stay in your ego and go about your stuff in explored territory, as Jordan says. But what you need to do is actually, well, if you want to individuate, you need to actually face the anxiety. You need to face you need to face the dark side. As Joseph Campbell says, you need to go to the cave. And the cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. And of course, these guys are just intuitively finding what I'm sort of trying to paint with you in an explicit way in regards to how your brain works. You've literally got like another side of your head that's geared towards seeing the world a certain way that connects you with your fear. And you need to go to that part of your head and build a relationship with it. And fear is a great place to start. And this is why it often presents itself to you as terror, as anxiety. This is how you first get to meet the right brain usually, or at least when you're just sort of unconscious of this stuff. This is how it will appear in your life. It will be the injections of fear to try wake you up.